at the British Council Vietnam here in Hanoi. I'm sorry if there's a little bit of background noise. I'm actually at another event. I'm jumping between a number of events this afternoon, so apologies for any noise. But it's great to see so many of you joining here today for this second of our 2 webinars to give you some information and some background to the online MA scholarship opportunity for English teachers in Vietnam, which is a collaboration between the British Council in Vietnam. I'm representing the team here with my colleagues Nga and Huyen, who are on the call, in collaboration with Ulster University in Northern Ireland in the UK. And in a few minutes, I'll introduce our colleagues Kane and Barbara as well. I hope you can see my screen. Kane, please let me know if there's any problem. Yep, you can see, great. So again, in the chat, I can't see the chat, but if you have any questions, I'm going to talk for maybe 5 to 10 minutes maximum. And then I'll hand over Kane from Ulster University to talk in a lot more detail. My colleagues, Nga and Huyen, are going to put in the chat now the link to the British Council Vietnam website, where you can find out all the information about the scholarship opportunity. Hopefully you've already seen that already. If you scroll down to the bottom of there, in fact, if I can just, hopefully I can jump between the two. Yeah, so if you see here, this is the page. If you scroll down to the bottom, not only can you find links to Ulster University and also links to the program at Ulster University, and all the details are in there. But at the bottom, you can also find a copy, a recording webinar that we had just before the long Liberation Day, May Day holiday here in Vietnam on the 28th of April. And right at the very bottom, if you click on here and you can download from the questions we had last time, from the webinar we had 2 weeks ago today, we created a FAQ document, a frequently asked question document. So if you haven't already, it's really useful for you to look through this document while Kane and myself are talking. There were 3 main areas of questions. One was about language proficiency and testing. So there you can see lots of questions there about IELTS and what's acceptable. There were more questions as well about eligibility. What are the eligibility criteria? So again, there's lots of questions and answers there about that. And finally, a few general questions as well. So again, if you haven't already, it's worth looking through those. Hopefully that FAQ, that frequently asked question document, will help you to answer some of the questions. But if you don't see a question there, or if Kane and myself don't address your questions directly, please feel free to put them in the chat. And Kane and myself, along with our colleagues Nga, Huyen and Barbara, will try to answer them over the next 50 minutes, okay? So I hope that helps and makes sense. All right, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoints now so that you can see those. Bear with me a second. Yeah, hopefully you can see now. Yeah, so just a few housekeeping notes. Yeah, I can see my colleague has already pressed record. So this will be recorded. And as I say, we've already uploaded the previous webinar. You can see that there. Please make sure that any comments or questions you write in the chat are relevant to this webinar. So again, it's a briefing webinar about the scholarship opportunity. So please make sure it's relevant to that. Please be courteous to one another and to us as well in your comments. And please be careful in terms of safeguarding. Please make sure you don't share any personal information, for example, a phone number or email details in the chat. To protect your own safety and security as well. Okay, so those are some housekeeping notes. So a little bit of explanation. Why are we doing this scholarship opportunity now? For those of you who don't know, this year we're celebrating 50 years of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and the UK. And we're also this year in 2023 celebrating 30 years of the British Council's presence in Vietnam. So in June, you're going to see, hopefully you'll see in the next few weeks, we have a big program of activities being launched under what we call the season. So you can see my backdrop, the UK Vietnam season 2023. And that's a whole series of events under arts, education and English. And this scholarship program is one of the flagship elements, one of the flagship components of our activities for the season. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context of why we're having the scholarship opportunity and why this year. Okay. What are the objectives? Again, the idea is to identify and support a selected group of English language teachers or teacher educators to help you to further develop your skills and knowledge as English language teachers and teacher educators here in Vietnam. It's also to give you fully funded opportunity to study with a UK university, Ulster University, and to study online an MA TESOL course, and Kane will say a lot more about that in just a few minutes. And as I say, the main study activity will be developed and delivered by Ulster University, but also me and my colleagues here in Vietnam, we're also hoping to develop a program of wraparound activities to support you during your study, and then also think about what you can do afterwards once you've completed your 2-year study. And again, in terms of why we're offering these scholarships, we're really keen to support, as the British Council and in our area of English language teaching, we always try to provide opportunities for English language teachers and teacher educators to access world-leading CPD opportunities so that you can reach your full potential. So one way that we're doing this is this year, as I say, as part of the season, the 30th anniversary celebration, is to give you an opportunity to increase your knowledge and understanding in the field of English language teaching, learning and assessment through the program. And so that as well, you can become and act as ambassadors for the UK, for UK postgraduate education in this field. And also the third point there, longer term, that you, the 9 scholars who will be successful, can not only develop yourselves through the program, but also during your 2 years and after completion of your 2-year program, you can support the development and the improvement and the enhancement of the English language teaching sector here in Vietnam, in your local provinces, in your local communities, in your local schools. So that's the reason behind the scholarship offer. What will the scholarships cover? Again, hopefully you can see from the website, we'll cover the tuition fees. They'll be covered by British Council and Ulster University. If you need to take an exam, an IELTS exam, to prove your language proficiency, that will be covered. Maybe you already have a relevant IELTS qualification or another eligible qualification. And then also, as part of the program, and again, Kane will say a bit more about this in a few moments, next summer, you will start in September this year, the successful scholars, and then next summer, in I think June, July of next year, you'll have an opportunity to visit the UK and to spend 2 weeks in Northern Ireland. And again, Kane will say more about what you'll be doing there, but we will cover the cost of travel, the cost of flights there, the cost of your visa and insurance, and also offer you a 2-week stipend to cover any living and accommodation costs whilst you're there as part of that two-week trip. How will you be selected? Again, you can see all the eligibility criteria there. I'm not going to go through them all. Kane's going to talk about those in a few minutes. Again, I've just highlighted some key ones there. One is to make sure you meet the English language requirement of Ulster University, which Kane will talk about in a few minutes. Make sure that you are supporting or related to the in Vietnam. Again, look at the FAQ document for more description of that. And again, most importantly, looking at the third and the fourth highlighted bullet points there, that you can demonstrate in your application, you can demonstrate how you're going to contribute to the development of English language teaching, learning and assessment in Vietnam during and in particular after you graduated from this program. That is a really important element for us. Okay. Who's not eligible? Again, you've got some details there. They're all on the website. Hopefully you're not related to a British Council a colleague, or you are a British Council or a British Embassy colleague. But most, those are the people who are not eligible. And yeah, as I say, please keep putting the questions in the chat there as well. But with that, that's all I'm going to say. Hopefully that's given you a very brief a very, very brief introduction to the scholarship opportunity, why we're doing it, and why we've partnered with Ulster University. But now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Kane Barraskill from Ulster University to go into a lot more detail about the offer, the program, how to apply, and together
put on my microphone. Hello, everybody. Can you see my slides on the screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see the slides. Great, thank you, everybody. So my name is Cian Barraskill. I am one of the lecturers on the MA TESOL program here at Ulster University. My colleague, Professor Barbara Skinner, is also here in the meeting to see you all today. And I'm kind of working with my colleagues at British Council Vietnam to really to put all of this together. So just in this part of the webinar, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the MA TESOL program at Ulster University and the types of things that you'll be looking at, you'll be studying, and also what you'll be doing here in your trip. So Ulster University, just to give you a little bit of background information about Ulster University. So Ulster University is ranked upon the 50 universities, top 50 universities in the UK, and is also in the top 25% of British universities for world leading research.
I think you're muted.
Hi, Ken. We can't hear you. You are on mute.
Hello, Ken. Maybe you just turn off your microphone.
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. So I just quickly run through again. I was probably talking to myself. So Ulster University is one of the top 50 universities in the UK. It's among the top 25% of British universities when it comes to research. We're based in Northern Ireland with about 30,000 students. We have a number of campuses, but it will be our Coleraine campus on the north coast of Ireland that you will be visiting. It's one of the highest universities in terms of student happiness, so we very much hope that you'll be happy here too. And our MA TESOL program is the oldest such course in Ireland, and it is an internationally recognised program. So moving on. So the MA TESOL, I'll tell you a little bit about the program that you're applying for these scholarships. So our MA TESOL program has been really carefully designed to equip the modern language teacher. So a lot of it's about improving your ability as an English language teacher. But it goes a little bit further than that, because we really want you not just to improve you yourself as a teacher, but to also give you the ability to help those around you to improve their teaching. So your colleagues within your schools or your institutions, but even further than that we hope that the graduates from this MA TESOL course will be able to bring the skills and knowledge that they learn at Ulster University back with them to Vietnam and to really improve the wider educational context within Vietnam, so to improve English language education as a whole throughout your country. During the program, you'll be looking at a number of different modules. The first module that I'll discuss is your English language teaching methodologies. Really, just to kind of sum this up, what you will do in this course is that you will critically evaluate a number of different methodologies within the field of language teaching. And this will ultimately help you to develop your own personal methodology and be able to adapt that methodology according to the context which you are teaching. So it is a theoretical module, but it's a module that connects theory to actual practice, and that's a general theme throughout the MA TESOL at Ulster University. You'll also be looking at language learning and acquisition, which is Barbara's module. So we really examine, how do we develop language as a child, and how can understanding that help us as a language teacher. So we look at some of the kind of really deep theories within language learning. And the first module we'll actually take is your knowledge about language module. So this is really, essentially, it's a linguistics module, and you'll be studying this with me. We look at how English has developed and changed over time to the current situation of the English language today, because it's kind of fascinating history. We really look at the mechanics of the English language, how it's all put together. And this will be in terms of your lexis, your syntax, your grammar, your pronunciation. We'll be looking at all of that. You'll have an opportunity to learn an unknown language. This year we learned Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. Next year it will be maybe something a little bit different. I'm not too sure just yet. But that gives you the kind of experience of what it feels like to be a student and to not know any of the language that you're being taught in, which will really go on to inform your practice. And you'll have also the chance to engage in an individual learner case study. So we will actually match you with a learner. You'll be matched with a student from Dongbei University of Economics and Finance in China, an undergraduate student, and they will act as your case study. So you will have a number of meetings with that student, and it will also help you improve your online teaching skills. As I mentioned, the MA TESOL at Ulster University differs that it's not all theory. This is a very practical program. So a lot of what you'll learn, you'll have to put into practice. So you'll be looking at this will happen within your own context, within your own schools and institutions. You'll be practicing a lot of the new skills that we have taught you and reflecting upon those. And this will help you to build what we call your teaching portfolio, which you will do over the time that you study with us at Ulster. And then finally, you will also be looking at research methods, which is necessary for all postgraduate students here in the UK. You'll be looking at primary research, secondary research, and this will all lead into your dissertation, which is the final written project that you do to complete your postgraduate study. The dissertation, it's a large piece of work, probably going to be the longest thing that you've ever written, but it's a fantastic opportunity to really explore something in depth that you are passionate about or you're interested about, something that you can use to try and maybe initiate change within Vietnam and improve education within your country. So that's the modules that you will study. But although the program will be delivered online, you'll be studying in Vietnam. It will be the evening time for you. It will be the morning time for us. But it does include, as Davide mentioned, a 2-week visit to us here in Northern Ireland at Ulster University, and that will happen in June 2024. So at the end of your first year with us, and you'll be staying at our Coleraine campus in university accommodation. During your first week, we'll welcome you to the campus. You'll have an opportunity to explore our library, to explore all of the technologies, the fantastic technologies that we have here at the university, all of our teaching resources. You'll engage in a number of workshops to help you develop professionally. We'll be working on creating our teaching portfolio, and we'll also have a number of lectures to help you to understand UK educational policy and practice, and you'll be able to contrast that with what happens in Vietnam. In your second week, we will be putting you in a local school in our area. So this may be a primary school working with students from maybe 5, 6 years old to 11 years old. It could be also a high school from 11 to 18, and it may be working with adults as well. So this will give you a real opportunity to see how education works in this country. It will give you an opportunity to teach. You'll be teaching students from other countries as well as students from Northern Ireland. And it'll just be a really, it will definitely be one of the highlights of the whole program for you. But it's not all work, don't worry. We will show you a really good time and make you feel very welcome when you come to visit us at Ulster. And you'll have an opportunity to tour our beautiful North Coast where we're situated. And if any of you are fans of the TV show Game of Thrones, you'll be able to see a lot of the locations where it was filmed in and around this area. We also send you on a sightseeing trip to Belfast, and British Council in Belfast will also welcome you to visit them there. A shopping trip to Derry, Londonderry, a visit to the Titanic Museum, and I will also personally bring you to a traditional Irish music night, which music is a very important part of our culture here in Ireland, and that's something that you will certainly enjoy. So just a quick overview of the programme structure in your semester 1. After your induction, you'll be looking at your knowledge about language, and you also study academic skills. So we will teach you really the skills that you need to be successful in UK higher education. So this will be research, academic writing, critical thinking, stuff like that. In your semester 2, you'll be doing your English language teaching methodologies, and this will also come with what we call micro teaching. So we'll be doing a kind of mini teaching sessions online with your classmates, and also probably your fellow classmates here in Ulster. And then end of semester 2, you'll visit Northern Ireland. You'll have the summer free, your first summer free, and coming back in semester 3, you'll look at your language learning and acquisition. You'll start your research methods. Into semester 4 will be a lot of independent study. This will be you developing your teaching portfolio and continue with your research methods. And then your final semester 5, so that will be the last summer, you'll be working in your dissertation, and you'll be assigned a supervisor here at Ulster University to support you through that. Now, David already went through the eligibility criteria, so I'll not focus on this too much. Just a couple of key things here. In order to be accepted onto our program, you'll need a second-class honours degree. The international equivalent in Vietnam, I believe, is a 6 out of 10, or if you've studied an international or American university, that will be a GPA of 2.6. So you do need that in order to get your visa here for Ulster University. Your IELTS score, an overall 6.5, no lower than 6 in any skill or equivalent. So we do take things like TOEFL as well, and Cambridge exams too. We don't take TOEIC, Duolingo, and I think the Pearson EDU, a few students asked about as well. Sorry that we don't accept that. Now, as David mentioned, you do not need to have a current IELTS certificate to apply for your scholarship. So please don't worry about that, trying to rush to get an IELTS test. Please don't worry, you can apply. If you're successful, British Council will support you to do an IELTS test in Vietnam, but you need to be able to reach our requirement. And if you don't reach the requirement, unfortunately, we'll have to offer your scholarship place to another applicant. A few other criteria: you must be a Vietnamese citizen. You must be working directly with the government education sector in Vietnam. So unfortunately, if you're a private teacher or a freelance teacher, you wouldn't qualify for this particular opportunity. And there's some other criteria there about students who are ineligible, and that's all available on the British Council website. So just to talk about the process then, so the applications have opened. They opened at 28th of April and they close on the 29th of May. So you still have another 3 weeks to apply. So please don't rush your application, spend time on it, and that's very important. Please apply through the Ulster University scholarships page. Do not apply to the MA TESOL course directly through Ulster University, because if you do that, we won't see your application until June, and that will be too late to be considered for the scholarship. So very, very important that you first apply for the scholarship. Shortlisting of the candidates will take place in early June, and then they will be contacted for an interview with myself and British Council, and the interviews will take place online from the 19th to the 23rd of June. Successful candidates and the reserve candidates will be contacted by the end of June. You'll be contacted, you'll be offered, and if you accept, then you will be asked to directly apply through Ulster University admissions website, but we will support you through this, so don't worry about that stage just yet, okay? Let's get your application in first. At that point, you will need your necessary documentation ready, but don't worry, we will inform you of everything that you need. So probably the most important aspect of my presentation here today is to talk about the application questions. So please take notes as I go through these, because this will really help you with your application. The application form consists of a total of 25 questions. Now, 15 of these questions relate to your personal information and eligibility criteria. So they're quite short yes, no questions, or maybe a little bit of information just. 10 questions will require a longer written answer, and your responses for these are very important because we will use your answers to shortlist these. So it's really important that you prepare and you provide the best answers possible. All answers are limited to 300 words, so you've got to be quite concise with what you're saying. So I'm going to run through the questions very quickly. First question, what was your bachelor's degree in? Please provide information regarding course, university and country. So tell us about your bachelor's degree, what modules that you just studied on it, and give us a little overview. Sorry. Similarly, if you have previously studied a master's degree or higher, give us the information. And then please give us details of your current role. So this is your current teaching job. We don't want to know who you are, what you do, your students that you teach, your responsibilities. So this gives us a kind of a good sense of who you are. So please don't just say English teacher, because that won't get you too far. Then we get to our more qualitative answers. What do you think are the key challenges teachers in English in Vietnam face, and what role could you see yourself playing in tackling these challenges? So that's an important question. It's one to think about, and probably one to do a bit of research as well before you jump in to answer the question. The next question is either describe an activity you do for your own professional development and how do you evaluate its effectiveness, or can you describe a professional development project or activity you delivered which positively affected your wider professional community? We really do want to see teachers who are focused on developing themselves and developing those around them. How would gaining this scholarship and studying a master's degree at Ulster University help you as an English teacher in Vietnam? What do you think will be the biggest challenges to you undertaking an online master's degree with Ulster University, and what will you do to overcome these? Now, a postgraduate degree here in the UK is not easy. It requires a lot of work and a lot of dedication. In addition, studying at distance requires you to be very organized and a lot of self-motivation as well. So those are things you need to think about. So then we look at your potential as an English language teaching leader. So how do you think studying in UK university will help your future career and or your contribution to capacity building and socio-economic advancement of Vietnam? After completing your master's degree, how do you plan to implement your learning in English language teaching and educational technologies to benefit students, teachers, educators, and other stakeholders in your community? And then the last question, this is a very much British Council question, and it allows you to write maybe 500 words for this one. During and after your studies, how do you intend to be an active member of British Council's global alumni network, maintain contact with British Council Vietnam, and act as an ambassador to the UK? So everyone, those are the application questions. But just before I finish, just a few pieces of key advice from me when preparing for your application. The first thing is to prepare. I recommend that you complete your responses. You now know the questions, so complete your responses offline. Do it in Word document first, proofread it, check it, and then open the application and just copy and paste your answers across. That will be much easier than just trying to type your answers directly into the application form. Research. I really want to see informed knowledge, not just your opinion or perception of what's happening. I want to, with postgraduate students, we want to see people who can back up what they say with facts, with figures, with statistics, with examples. So do some research. Stand out. You know, we've had well over 1,000 expressions of interest in these scholarships already. So there's going to be a large number of applications. You need to make your application special and stand out and be different than others. And that's how you may be selected for the interview. Proofread your work. I always have to proofread my work because I often make careless errors. So, you are English language teachers. It would create quite a bad impression if you open an application with lots of grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, etc. And the last thing is to be truthful. Do sell yourself, show the best that you are, but you need to be honest with your application. The application uses a form of software, so anything which has been plagiarized, as in it's been copied from somewhere else, will be immediately identified and your application will be rejected. Any false claims will become very obvious to us in the interview stage because we will be using your applications to form our questions. So any false claims will make you ineligible as well. So lastly, just good luck from me, everyone. I'm looking forward to seeing the applications coming in and to seeing some of you here at Ulster University in the next academic year.
Okay, thanks very much, Kane, for taking us through that. And hopefully we're getting quite a few questions in. I'm trying to answer as many as I can in the chat in real time, but not answering, or I haven't managed to answer all of them. If we work backwards through the chat, if that makes sense. And again, I just say to people, please do look at the FAQ document that I mentioned at the beginning, because many of your questions, hopefully they've already been addressed through the chat. And oh, someone's taken the hand down. I was going to go to that person. Let's go to Lai's question. I think Lai Nguyen, who says, I've submitted this application, but there was no confirmation email, which worried me about the success of the application. Kane, I'm not sure if you can answer that one from Lai.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if you do receive a confirmation email, and I will just check to see if I have received yours.
While Kane is checking that, I'll go to Lady Big Nop's question, who says, I have already a Bachelor of English from a university in Vietnam. Great. Could I apply for this scholarship without IELTS? Yes, you can. Okay. Again, remember, Kane said that you need to make sure that you have an IELTS of 6.5 across the 4 skills. But you don't have to have the IELTS before you apply for the scholarship. But obviously, you'd need to make sure that you're fairly confident of getting a 6.5 in IELTS. So if you think you're not confident of getting that, you'd have to be be careful, because obviously if you were to be provisionally given an acceptance and then took your IELTS and didn't get the requisite score, obviously we'd have some reserve candidates and we'd move down to the reserve candidates. So just be mindful of that, Big Nop. Okay, hope that answers your question. And thanks, Kane, for confirming Lai's. Yeah, you've got that, and thank you, Lai, for responding to that. Okay. Yeah, Jake has put his hand up. So Jake, if you can put your microphone on and maybe a camera, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, I just have two questions. Sorry, I'm outside, so I can't really turn my camera on.
Okay.
So the first question is, do we need to have like a university degree in the English linguistics or TESOL, or it can be anything, but I have like a lot of experience of teaching English to apply for the scholarship? And the second question is, earlier, David, you said that, well, I read the frequently asked question,
Yeah.
and I think like private teachers are allowed to submit if we can demonstrate what we have been doing to the teaching community or we intend to do so. But earlier, Ken said that we are not allowed to submit the application. So I'm a little bit confused because I know there are so many teachers here who are working for, a private center, and
Yeah.
that might be good to have like some clarification on that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I saw I saw your question in the chat. I'll come to that in a minute. But if I could just hand over to Kane first to talk about the eligibility in terms of your previous degrees. Maybe Kane, you want to address that question, and then I'll pick up on the second question from you, Jake.
Yeah, certainly, Jake. No, you do not have to have a prior degree in English or teaching or education. This degree is open to anyone to apply for, provided that you've reached that second class honours. We understand that many English language teachers didn't, they didn't start out to be English language teachers. So, my degree is history and politics. So my first degree. So yes, you can apply with any undergraduate degree.
And same for me. My undergraduate degree is not in English language teaching either. So two examples there. All
yeah.
right.
And then the second question, David, could you maybe
Yeah, sure. I can. Yeah, and I understand. And apologies, everybody, and Jake and everybody for the confusion. Again, this is something from the British Council's point of view here in Vietnam. Obviously, we want to see through this program not just that 9 people benefit for themselves and for their own professional development, although of course that's important, but also that you can demonstrate your commitment to the development of the English language teaching in Vietnam. So we want to make sure that you can, through your application, and again, that's why, again, Ulster University and British Council in Vietnam work very hard on the series of questions, so that through the application submission, you can demonstrate how you can contribute either during the 2 years, but especially after 2 years. What are you going to do? What do you intend to do to help develop the ELT community, teachers, teacher education here in Vietnam? So again, our starting point is that you're working with the Vietnamese system, with the Vietnamese curriculum, but we understand and we appreciate from the last call, the last webinar, that a number of you are working in perhaps in private centres or working for private schools, maybe working on different curriculum, for example, Cambridge or international curriculum. That is fine, but you have to demonstrate what are you going to do to support English language teaching development through your local provincial Department of Education and Training, through other teacher professional development activities. What do you want to do once you've done this 2-year program with Ulster University to further develop English language teaching in Vietnam? That's really what we want to see through your application, and that's really the key to being successful in the application. It's not just about whether what school you work for, but it's about your contribution in the past, at present, and especially in the future to ELT development in Vietnam. That's what we'd like to see you demonstrate through the application process. So I hope that answers your question, Jake.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay. So again, it's about you, and again, and Kane made reference to that before. It's the application process that's your opportunity to sell yourself, past, present, and future. What have you done? No matter what degree you've taken in your undergraduate degree, what are you doing, and especially what do you intend to do for ELT development here in Vietnam? That's the key. Okay. Okay, let's keep going through the questions. There's one here from Nyum. I don't fully understand this question. Can you see that one on the 1640 or to maybe 1040 your time, Kane?
Yeah, I think I get the gist. No, yes, no, just please apply first of all for the scholarship. Don't apply to the university, or you don't need to supply any documentation or anything at this point. So just apply through the scholarship only, and then only successful scholars will be asked to then provide their documents.
Thanks. Yeah, Huang Tiang's asked, I haven't an IELTS test. I can submit this course, right? Yes, but remember what we said before. Remember what's in the FAQ document. Thanks, Neum. Yeah, make sure you feel confident that even if you haven't got an IELTS test now, if you are successful and you get a sort of conditional offer from Ulster University and from British Council saying you're accepted, if you then took the IELTS test and didn't get 6.5, we would go work down through our reserve list of candidates, so that to study at Ulster University, as Kane was saying before, you need to be able to demonstrate an equivalent to 6.5 of IELTS. And again, we will support you with taking the IELTS test. If you haven't already got one, or if yours as the 2 years has run out, British Council Vietnam will support you with that. But again, you need to make sure that you hit that 6.5 minimum in order to be accepted by Ulster University. Okay. Thanks, Tiang. Huing has asked, after I complete the program, can I choose an institution in Vietnam to teach, or as the requirement of this program? I'm not quite sure if I understand that question. Again, you'll obviously be working for your own institution, whichever institution that is. We are just trying to support your professional development. We can't dictate which institution you'll be working for afterwards. That would really be for you. But again, you might already be working for a school or a university, or for some other institution as well. So sorry, Hui, I can't really answer that question beyond that, I don't think, at this stage. I'm scrolling back up through the questions. I think we've answered most of them. If anybody has any burning questions, we've got about just under 15 minutes left. Please feel free to raise your hand.
I see one question there from Tran. I have a professional TESOL diploma.
Yes.
It's shoot in Vietnam. Should I include it in the application? No, Tran, you can mention, of course, in your application, but you do not need to include any documents at this stage for your scholarship. Only successful scholars will need to supply their documents.
Yeah, thanks. That was exactly the one I was looking for. I was scrolling up, Kane, and you beat me to it, so thanks for that. Zum has asked, can I use a CAE certificate, so I presume a Cambridge CAE certificate, to apply instead of IELTS 6.5? Kane?
Yes, I think CAE is equivalent to that.
Yes.
Maybe Barbara, could you just confirm that? If Barbara can confirm off the top of her head. I do believe
CAE is like B2 or C1, I think. Barbara,
C1?
maybe you can help. You're on mute, Barbara.
On mute, Barbara.
Hi, everybody.
C1.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is acceptable, the CAE certificate, C1, and then certificate of proficiency, CPE, is C2, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And thanks, Wayne. Thanks, Barbara, for that. Jake, you have your hand up again, I think, for another question.
Yeah, just one more question about
maybe a follow-up question.
Yeah. So I understand that you really want us, the one who received the scholarship, to contribute to the teaching community. Is there any particular area of the teaching community that you really want to focus on? Let's say technology, or teachers' well-being, or CBD, or anything, or it could be what we really want to do to help the community. I think that's very important. We focus on one particular area when we do our application.
Yeah, I think if I can go first, I think you've answered the question yourself, Jake, in the way you rationalize that. I think it's for you know, whether you're working in a government school or a private school, if the reason you're here is because, one, you want to develop yourself professionally and personally, and two, we hope that you want to support and further the development of English language teaching here in Vietnam. So that's the thing. What is the driver for you, and how have you been, or how do you intend to contribute to that going forward? And how can doing a 2-year online master's TESOL with Ulster University, and again, Kane's outlined the program in outline terms. You can go onto the website link and learn more about the program. And obviously, you'll take part, if you're successful, you'll take part in the program over the next 2 years. But through that research and through your own interest, it's for you to communicate through the application. How do you see yourself contributing to ELT development in Vietnam? That's really the key. Kane, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I would really just say what I would expect from a successful scholar is someone whose ability to identify areas within your education system that do need help or do need improvement, and then demonstrate how you intend to address those issues. And that would suggest to me, you know, someone who's informed, who's done their research, who's
Exactly.
So that's where I would come from on that particular answer.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that as well, as Kane was saying, and Kane took you through the questions, if you think about the way the questions are structured and the sequence of the questions as well, it's exactly that. It's to get you to reflect on what are the challenges of teaching in Vietnam? What are the challenges of teaching English in Vietnam from your experience as an experienced English teacher? Hopefully all of you are experienced English teachers here in Vietnam. You know yourself what the challenges are. Hopefully you've done additional research or reading around some of those topics. And then through the application, you can demonstrate why you're interested in, as you say, Kane, as you said, Jake, before, maybe technology, thinking back about the pandemic, how we reacted to that. Is technology the way forward, and how could you contribute to that, and could that be a focus of your learning over the next 2 years with Ulster? Or is there something else, another area of, as you mentioned, teacher development, CPD, ongoing support for teachers? It's for you to identify that through your own experience and through your own research, and then to articulate that through your application.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Thanks for coming back, and thanks for the follow-up question as well. I'm glad you asked that. Lai has another question. Can you see that one, Kane, about the interview? In case you've shortlisted, maybe you want to address that. I think you're on mute, Kane.
Yeah, if you're shortlisted for the interview, I'd certainly say, preparation is important. We will have a number of set questions, but we will also have some individual questions which will be based on your application.
Yes.
So you really gotta kind of be able to back up and to elaborate. The application is limited to 300 words, so it's quite limited. So we will be asking you to really to elaborate on a lot of the things that you say within your application. So I think that's the kind of the best advice I would give you if you're thinking ahead for the interviews, which shows confidence. Good. Be able to back up what you've said in the application.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Again, I think, as Kane says, in the interview, expect us to drill down a little bit on what you said in the application, so that you can really, again, demonstrate that you've got a real understanding of what you've written, and then you can really expand on that at the interview stage. Ming Vu's asked a question about, thanks Lai for your response there. I hope that's clear for you. Yeah, Ming Vu's asked a question about the employer. Yeah, so again, oops.
I think Davide has it frozen there. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Yes, Mingfu, so please put down your school first, and then you can just put in brackets, Department of Education and Training, but put us down with your specific school, and that will give us a sense of where you're teaching. Okay, David has frozen. Now, is there any other questions which have not been answered? Nah, if you can hear me and help me.
I think most of the questions are answered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most of the questions have been answered. We've just got about 5 minutes left. Is there any other questions that you would like to ask? You can put your hand up, or you can put them in the chat box. Or otherwise we'll finish up. Okay, brilliant. I don't see any more questions popping up. So thank you everybody for coming along today. It's morning here, but I know it's Friday, late afternoon. So I'd like to wish you all a lovely weekend. You've got until the 29th of May to submit your applications. Don't rush them. Spend time, read, research, review, maybe show it to a friend or a colleague to get some feedback before you put your final submission on. The session today has been recorded, so I will email you all at some point today with a link which you can go back to watch the recording of today's session, or you can go to the British Council website and Davide and her team will put it up there. Otherwise, thank you everybody, and best of luck with your applications.